Has Gabe Davis already put pen to paper to join the New York Football Giants? We're going to break that down on today's show, but first make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We talked about Davis last week. We talked about him earlier today, and some people already think he's a Giant. I do know this. He's taking a visit, and we'll talk about that. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, though, because when news breaks, we're going to get you guys a video as soon as possible, and we're almost at our goal of 76,000 subscribers. Do it for Chris Snee. Hit that sub button if you want free Giants videos every day. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate you for being here as we react to the news of the day. That wide receiver, Gabe Davis, who was released and cut with an injury, a failed physical, is reportedly meeting with the New York Giants on a free agency visit. John Frischella, who covers the NFL, tweeting out that Davis, breaking former Jags and Bills wide receiver Gabe Davis, is flying to New York to meet with the Giants. We told you guys a week ago when we did the video on Davis being released that the New York Giants were going to be interested, and it sounds like a meeting is taking place today, if not tomorrow. And I don't know if Pro Football Focus has a person inside the building at 1925 Giants Drive, or if the Giants have already signed Gabe Davis and they're keeping it under wraps and they're waiting for the schedule to be released. But if you type in Gabe Davis PFF on Google, they've already got him as a member of the New York Giants roster. I'm not ready to go that far to say he's on the team, but I do think where there is smoke, there is fire, and I believe if the Giants and Davis can find a common ground on money, he is going to sign to join this team. 6'2", 225-pound wide receiver, still just 26 years old. Signed a 3-year deal worth $39 million with the Jags in 2024. I think it had like $24 million in guaranteed money. Then he ended up hurting his knee during the regular season. Pretty sure he needed surgery. I think it was a meniscus. Did not play the remainder of the year. And the Jags actually waived him with a failed physical. Played 4 seasons with the Bills from 2020 to 2023 season, and that's where he played his best football. 35 grabs for 549 yards in 2021. Then he topped that with 836, then 746. 14 touchdowns in his final 2 years in Buffalo, 20 in the final 3 years. So this is someone that's had some success in this league. A lot of people will want to say it was because of Josh Allen, and yeah, probably so. Josh Allen's a damn good quarterback. What I love about him is he is a big play creator. He is able to create explosive plays, and that is something the Giants need a lot more of. Some other notable stats: 12 career games of more than 80-plus receiving yards, 29 career receiving touchdowns, 17 games of 20-plus yards per catch, and he's also really good in contested catch situations, 31 of 78 on his career, 39.7 success rate. To put that into context, Jamar Chase was 41% this past year. Not saying Davis is Jamar Chase, just putting some numbers out there so you guys can visualize it from that perspective. The thing that Davis does best is take the top off the defense, create those explosive plays, being a deep threat wide receiver. In 2020, he had a PFF grade on throws of 20-plus air yards of 98.8. The scale only goes up to 100. 98.5, 96.7, 99.4. He is legitimately one of the best deep threats in all of the National Football League. Didn't work out in Jacksonville. Blame that on Trevor Lawrence. Blame that on Mac Jones. Blame that on the terrible Jags organization. Or maybe you think Gabe Davis is washed. I do not. He's just 26 years old. Will he get back to the player he was with the Bills? That I don't know. But I do think there is a world where he could be an extremely productive wide receiver for the New York Giants. And I've talked about it time and time again on this channel. The Giants need to add more talent to that wide receiver room. We all know what Gabe Davis does in the playoffs. He shows up and he shows out. I'll never forget that game against the Kansas City Chiefs where he went crazy. Still, that corner post that he put on that corner when he put him in the dirt was one of the better routes I've ever seen. I remember where I was, what I was doing, and who I was watching it with. Guy's got 6 touchdowns in his playoff career in 4 games. Like, he's a special playoff performer. At least he has been with the Buffalo Bills. 121 yards per game in 2021, 61.5 yards per game in 2022, 18 catches and 4 postseason games. I like having a guy that's played his best under the brightest lights. Also, now it is being confirmed. Paul Schwartz, who covers the Giants for the New York Post, is saying that Gabe Davis is meeting with the New York Giants. So it is officially official. A meeting is taking place. Will a signing follow? We'll keep you in the date. That's why we'll keep you up to date. That's why you subscribe. A lot of talk about Gabe Davis being a dropper of the football. Like, no doubt about it. He has had his drops like a lot of wide receivers. 5 in 2020, 4 in 2021, 7 in 2022, 4 in 2023, and 2 this past year. This is his drop percentage: 9.1, 8.2, 11.1, 8.2, 11.4. To put that into context, again, not trying to take a shot at Darius Slayton. Slayton had a 15.2% drop percentage last year. Gabe Davis has never been over 11.5. So not the most sure-handed wide receiver out there, but he's not Ted Ginn. Like, he's not just going to drop everything that's thrown his way. He's a deep threat, good in contested catch situations, sneaky good after the catch, and he's a hell of a locker room guy, and Joe Schoen loves him. We'll talk about that in a second. I'll just ask you, should the Giants go out and sign Davis? Should they bring the deep threat 26-year-old wide receiver into the New York Giants? Type S for sign, type P for pass. For me, I'm typing my S for sign. This is a no-brainer signing for me. There's so many things that make sense about Davis joining the New York Football Giants. And let's start with this. Outside of the Buffalo Bills and their organization and their current front office, nobody knows him better than Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. Joe Schoen saying this back in 2023 after the Giants drafted Jalen Hyatt. He was asked about finding a wide receiver that could be successful in rounds 3 and round 4. And someone asked him about Gabe Davis, and he said, well, with Gabe, it started with his makeup. He was off the charts with the way he learned, the ability to move him around, his work ethic. He checked all those boxes, and he was a very productive receiver at Central Florida. It's not always about what you can see on film. And I think that's why we go and spend so much time with these kids, is to try to figure out what is their makeup. Because when you get to this level, everybody's good. What's going to give you the competitive advantage? Why is a 4th or a 5th round player going to make it? Is it their work ethic? Is it their tireless pursuit of being great? Whatever it may be, you try to identify those traits through this process, whether it's bringing them in on top 30 visits or going and seeing them. We talked to a bunch of coaches this week around the country, whether head coaches, position coaches, or coordinators, and getting as much information as you can on why this kid can be successful. And Gabe Davis, back when he was drafted, he was one of those players. So Joe Schoen really likes Gabe Davis. He said that in 2023. Joe Schoen also takes a lot of credit for being the guy that kind of found and pushed Brandon Beane to select him when he was the assistant general manager for the Buffalo Bills. So you have a front office guy and a general manager in Joe Schoen who loves him, and you have a wide receiver in Davis whose best years in the National Football League that got him that $39 million contract came with Brian Daboll calling the plays. And Brian Daboll is now the play caller for the New York Giants. So that's another reason that he should want to come join this team. I think this year for Davis should be about rehabbing his value, signing a 1-year prove-it deal, going to an organization where he feel like he could spread his wings and get back to being who he was. What better place to do that with a front office that loves you and a head coach that had you in a spot that was most productive in your NFL career? And also, he's a hell of a locker room guy. Mitch Morse, the center for the Jags, who was the center for the Buffalo Bills, a teammate of Davis in both of those situations. Morse saying this when Davis was released: an absolute tone setter in the locker room and on the field. A perfect culture guy. He played hurt all last year and did not complain about it once. Having a tough time wrapping my head around this one. We also saw John Feliciano, former Giant, once a Giant, always a Giant, came from the Bills, played with Gabe Davis under Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. He took to Twitter to say the 49ers should go out and sign this guy. So he's left a footprint everywhere he's played, and nothing but good things are said about him from his former teammates. General manager loves him. Head coach made him successful, or not made him successful. The player was most successful under this play caller, and he seems to be a really good locker room guy. I got a couple more thoughts on this, but first, make sure you are hooked up with the rookie jerseys. Jackson Dart's jersey is up for sale. Abdul Carter's jersey is up for sale. Go to chatsports.com/dart or chatsports.com/Carter and get your jersey today. I also want to read this tweet. Eric Woods saying, I would be in favor of bringing Gabe Davis back to the Bills. Coming off the injury, he could take a prove-it deal and he can carve out a role. Great blocker, great on special teams, chemistry with Josh Allen, and can make plays when needed. So yeah, a lot of people like Gabe Davis. And I think it would be a great fit for the New York Football Giants for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, we talked about Dable. We talked about Shane. We talked about the locker room presence. But what he does best is be productive as a downfield wide receiver. And you just signed a quarterback in Russell Wilson who was the best deep ball thrower in all of the National Football League last year. Like, he was 12th in big-time throws, and he didn't even play a full season. He was 3rd in big-time throw percentage, which I think better paints the picture. His deep completion percentage, meaning throws that traveled more than 20-plus yards. Russell Wilson was number 1 in the NFL last year. His PFF grade, number 1 in the National Football League last year. So you have a quarterback that wants to throw the ball down the field. And there's a wide receiver out there that is one of the better deep threats in this league. It really is a no-brainer move for me. And like when you factor in where the Giants sit currently at that wide receiver room, there's another spot available for a guy that can push the ball down the field. Malik Nabers, he could do it all. Not worried about him, and I know he's going to be super special this year. Wan'Dale Robinson is a limited slot receiver. He was a deep threat at Kentucky. Can he get back to that with a quarterback that's willing to push the ball down the field? Like, outside of Nabers, your only real deep threats are Darius Slayton and Jalen Hyatt. And Hyatt had 8 grabs last year. Slayton's a good deep threat. Imagine an offensive look where you got Darius Slayton on one side, you got Gabe Davis on another. You got to play 2 safety high because if you don't, they're going to run by those corners. And then you got Malik Nabers in the slot doing what Malik Nabers does. Yeah, like I'm not asking him to be a wide receiver 1. I'm not asking him to be a wide receiver 2. I'm not even asking him to be a wide receiver 3. I just asking him to be on this team and make the occasional play. Would I like for that to be Jalen Hyatt? Yeah. But the Giants can't sit on their hands for Jalen Hyatt any longer. They honestly shouldn't sit on their hands for any young player any longer. If there's better players out there at those spots, go get them. Competition brings the best out of everybody. Let's see the best of the best compete and let the cream rise to the top. I also don't think Davis is looking for a major payday. I don't know that for sure. Haven't talked to Gabe Davis, but just kind of piecing stuff together, got $24 million from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, his value right now is not at an all-time high. Take a cheap deal. Come play with the Giants. Rehab your value. And then cash in this spring. Like, that's what this should be about. Getting your value back to a point where you can get another payday in this league. Like, I really do. And I'm biased. I get it. I drink Giants Kool-Aid every day, blue and red. Giants are the best spot for him, though. Like, I truly do believe that. You have a quarterback that wants to throw the ball deep. You have a front office that believes in you. You have a head coach that knows how to use you. I think it just makes the most sense. I do. And there's a pathway for him to play and be an impact player early. Yeah, you got Nabers and Slayton. Outside of that, outside wide receiver reps are up for grabs. I'd bring him in. I hope they do. I think they do. Make sure you are following me on Twitter because if the Giants do sign Gabe Davis, the first place you're going to hear about it is on my Twitter. I'll also have a short form video on Instagram. So give me a follow over there at @MarshallGreen_. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because if the Giants make a move, we make a video. Until tomorrow, we'll see you later. Let's go Giants.